What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Unstoppable, the elite mind and body podcast for men. This is episode 5 of the podcast. We're going to be discussing how to break through life's limits. Okay, how to break through life's limits. What I want to do before we fully get into this episode is I want to discuss what I mean by life's limits and what actually causes limits in your life specifically. Okay. Most people think when they think about limits, they think about a glass ceiling in their income at work. They think about a douchebag boss. They think of outside circumstances that are making it so that they can't leave the career that they're in, or they're thinking of outside circumstances that make it so that they can't get in better shape. They're thinking of outside circumstances that make it so that they can't build a better body, build a better business, build a better family, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. However, what I want to outline before we dive deep, because we're going deep in this podcast, before we dive deep in this podcast, I want to outline the fact that life's limits, like the limits that you experience in your life, come from specifically weakness, ego, and vices. Okay? Life's limits, pretty much all of life's limits, stem from weakness, ego, and vices. Your own weakness, ego, and vices. Okay? Now, what do I mean specifically? Okay? If you're looking to switch careers, as an example, that was one of the examples that I gave. If you're looking to switch careers, but you are too weak-minded to go out on your own and become an entrepreneur, that is one of life's limits, right? If you want to get in great shape, but you cannot stop eating junk food, right? That's a vice. That's holding you back and creating a limit on your life. Okay. Now, if you are the type of person who wants to have an amazing relationship, but you end up cheating on your spouse, that's ego, right? Ego. Your ego got in the way of your ability to create and maintain the marriage or relationship that you want. Weakness, ego, and vices are the 3 causes of limitations in your life. With this episode, what I want to do is I want to discuss the 5 steps to break through life's limits, which are ego, weakness, and vices. Okay. So the first step in breaking through life's limits is to recognize and acknowledge the fact that you have limits in the first place. Recognize and acknowledge the fact that you have an ego. Okay. You've got to understand, we all have egos. People that live in like minimalist people even have fucking egos, because you ever seen a minimalist show? They're bragging about how minimalist they are. Like, it's literally everybody has an ego. It doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing. We all have egos. And so if you have an ego, you need to acknowledge the fact that your ego is not going anywhere. It is a part of you. It is part of who you are as a human being. Okay. So recognize the fact that you have an ego. Recognize the fact that you have weaknesses, right? It doesn't Superman has weaknesses. Okay. Every human being has weaknesses. So recognize and acknowledge the fact that you have weaknesses, and understand that once you realize that you're not a perfect person, you're going to be able to take steps 2, 3, 4, and 5 to actually shift and break through these limits. But first you have to understand, dude, I have weaknesses, right? We all have them. Temptations, weaknesses, limiting belief, self-doubt, weaknesses. Okay. We just talked vices. We talked ego. We talk weaknesses. The other thing, okay, so the last one was actually vices. So vices, guys, we all have vices. Let me explain vices to you. A vice is something that you do, or let's just say do. So a vice is something that you do that doesn't make your life better. It makes your life worse. Okay? So literally anything can be a vice. Sitting on your fucking phone and scrolling social media, that's a vice, right? It can be. Drinking alcohol, obviously, vice. Drugs, obviously, vice. Porn, obviously, vice, right? Video games. I played so many video games growing up. That shit is a vice. You know why? Because what happens is you escape reality You live in this little fantasy world where you're getting all of these achievements. And then you turn the game off and no one gives a fuck. No one cares, right? And neither should you, because video games are a complete waste of time. And that's coming from a person who loves video games. If I had all the money in the world, I would literally spend an hour a day at least playing fucking video games because I love them so much. Legit. But I'm telling you right now that it's a vice. So we need to become aware. We need to recognize and acknowledge the fact that we have weakness, ego, and vices. And those are the primary areas that we need to elevate through, transcend past, and become better than, so that we can break through life's limits. So the first step is to acknowledge. The second step is to gain awareness. Okay? Gain awareness of what's going on inside of your mind. Okay? And now what I mean by that is this. And I brought this up in a recent episode last week. I brought this up. But thoughts, I want to recap on this. Thoughts are simply projections of our perception of reality, right? So in any moment that we're alive and thinking, our thoughts are not who we are. Our thoughts are not our identity, right? Our thoughts are merely a projection of our perception of reality while we are currently conscious and awake, okay? Now, if we can become aware and mindful of the things that are holding us back, our vices, the egotistical tendencies that we've had, the weaknesses, all of those things, if we can become specifically aware of what is holding us back in those three areas, weakness, ego, and vices, then what we can start to do is we can start to understand what we need to do better in order to break through the limits. Okay. So what I want to do is I actually want to encourage you guys right now, if you're watching this live or if you're listening to the podcast, wherever you're listening to this, I want you to quickly grab a pen and paper. I've got a pen and paper right here. What I want you to do is I want you to write out weakness. Okay. You're going to write a line, ego and vices. Okay. Like this, weakness, ego, and vices. If you're watching the video, you can see right there, weakness, ego, and vices. Okay. You're going to put everything that you think is a weakness in your life in the weakness column. You're going to put everything that you think is an egotistical tendency in the ego column. And you're going to put everything that is a vice in the vices column. We need to become aware of what's going on under the hood, what's going on in our minds if we want to break past life's limits. Okay. This may fucking suck at first. I'll be completely honest with you, right? Looking at your vices list and you've got alcohol, right? You've got porn on there. You've got video games, right? You're like, holy shit, I got to get rid of all those things. No, it's not about getting rid of everything. It's about becoming aware and mindful of them so that you can grow through them. Ego column, you've got things like anger, right? You've got resentment towards people that you've had falling outs with in the past, and that resentment lives in your heart, right? Weakness, discipline, you have trouble waking up in the morning, you have trouble quitting weed, right? You have trouble doing the things that you say you're going to do. Write out the list of weaknesses, ego, and vices, as you can see, okay? And then what we do is we need to create a certain set of steps that will help you to break through each of those areas, okay? Which leads me to step 3. Step 3 is self-discipline, right? Because discipline is the way out of anything, literally. Any of life's limits that stem from weakness, ego, and vices can be broken and pushed past and transcended through by getting super, super disciplined, doing the opposite of what you have in your list. Okay, the opposite. What I mean by that is this. If you have a really hard time waking up in the morning, you should make it your life's mission and your life's commitment every single morning to wake up at the same time, 7 days a week, if that's a huge problem for you, right? If you have anger and resentment in your heart, and that's making you an egotistical person, or it's making it so that you can't focus properly, forgive the people that wronged you, right? It's the opposite. Okay. Vices. If you're dealing with alcohol addiction, weed addiction, porn addiction, video game addiction, any sort of addictions that are holding you back and making you feel shameful, you've got to take action on being more self-disciplined in those areas. And I know it's hard. I know it sounds easy when I say it, right? But baby steps, right? I have removed video games out of my life completely by phasing them out slowly over time. I have removed alcohol, not alcohol specifically, because I still drink sometimes, and I still drink like 1 or 2 drinks here and there. But I have phased partying, specifically partying, out of my life completely to where I don't party anymore. I'll have a couple of glasses of wine with my wife on date night. Keep it simple, okay? We have to phase these things out, because until you transcend past the weakness that's holding you back, until you transcend past the ego and the egotistical tendencies that will keep you stuck, and until you transcend past the vices that fucking chain your mind, you will not be able to break through life's limits. You will not be able to reach the next level in your business, reach the next level with your fitness, reach the highest level of connection with your spouse or partner. You will not be able to ever create the family that you want, the life that you want, the abundance that you want. None of those things can fucking happen. None. Absolutely none. Because weakness, ego, and vices will chain you back. Okay? Absolutely chain you back. Now, step 4, okay, in breaking through life's limits is to start to become resilient and mentally tough. Okay. Now, here's the thing that I want to explain about resilience. People think that if they take enough action, they'll get resilient, right? And that's not really the case. What resilience is, what true resilience is being able to do the thing even when you don't want to, even when your entire being is screaming at you not to do what you're supposed to do, you still fucking do it. That's what resilience is, right? When you absolutely do not want to get out of bed in the morning because the pillow is so warm, the blanket is just cuddling you, and your wife smells like fucking flowers, you still get up. You still get out of bed. When everything is hitting the fucking fan in your business and you haven't made a sale in 2 months and you're going to lose your fucking house unless you make shit happen, and all you want to do is stay inside, stay at home, eat ice cream, and quit, you take action moving forward. That's what resilience is, right? Even if you're hungry and you know that in order for you to feed your family, you need to close X amount of deals, or you need to get X amount of escrows if you're in real estate, or you need to do XYZ deal or schmooze XYZ person, you show the fuck up and you get it done. Okay? Resilience, becoming mentally tough, meaning you don't listen to the weakness. You don't listen to that bitch voice. You don't listen to the side of your brain. Sorry, I paused on Instagram for a second. You don't listen to the side of your brain that tells you that you need to rest. Because men, we're here for a reason. We're here to develop into the people we were born to be. We're here to develop into the leaders that lead our family to the next level lives that we want to create. Okay? And resilience and mental toughness is the next step. The last step in breaking through life's limits is to develop a growth mindset, right? A growth mindset. I can't tell you how many clients I have that come on board. And you know what? Here's one I got the other day. A lot of clients come on board and they're like, man, I don't understand this app. You know, I hate technology. I'm not I repel technology. I'm not a technology person. Okay. That's a fixed mindset. That means that you can't learn how to use an app. Okay. It's completely ridiculous, right? So many people are fixed mindseted. So people think that they can't learn new skills because they were told by their grade 4 teacher that they're dumb. Right? People think that they can't start a business because they were told by their mother-in-law or father-in-law that is a bad idea and they shouldn't start the business. Right? People have these fixed mindsets that are conditioned and programmed into them by their colleagues, by their peers, by their spouses, by their family. And it makes it so that they can never grow. The fifth step in breaking through life's limits is to develop and cultivate a growth mindset to where you're constantly learning and growing. You're constantly striving for more. You're constantly looking at what other people are doing that are more successful than you, acquiring their knowledge, implementing it, and building the life that you want, right? That's what a growth mindset is. A fixed mindset, you see the people that are winning, you get butthurt because there's people out there doing better than you. And so what happens is you don't take action because you don't think it's for you. Growth mindset wins 10 times out of 10. Now, guys, I want to quickly recap the 5 steps to break through life's limits. Number 1 is to recognize and acknowledge that weakness, ego, and vices are the only thing holding you back from reaching the next level of life in any area. The second step is to become aware and mindful of each one of the weaknesses, the egos, and the vices that are holding you specifically back from reaching your next level life. Step 3 is to gain self-discipline, or create discipline in each specific area that you wrote out that you're weak in, that your ego is holding you back in, and that your vices are consuming you and shackling your mind in. The 4th step is to start to become resilient, start to develop mental toughness, start to develop the ability to continue even when you don't want to, right? The most successful people in life are the ones who keep going despite no results, despite a million setbacks, despite a million failures, and they keep coming back for more, like Rocky, right? Like Jeff Bezos, the everything store in 94, when no one believed that the internet would even work. He was thinking of selling everything to everybody everywhere. Resilience, okay? Step 5, growth mindset. Develop it, cultivate it, learn as much as you can in every single area so that you can grow, and understand that you have the ability to learn anything. Anything you want to learn, anything you want to put your mind to. As men, we are here right now in this moment with high expectations set upon us by society, high expectations for ourselves to succeed. And in order to grow through the weakness, ego, and vices that chain us back, that hold us back, we need to develop that growth mindset. Okay. Continue learning, continue growing. You guys are all legends. If you're watching this live right now, I love you. I love you. And I'm so excited to see you in tomorrow's episode. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you so much. If you see the little button at the bottom of the podcast app, please subscribe to this podcast. It would mean the world to me. We should be live already on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Share it with a friend. If you love this episode, you guys all have an amazing day, night, morning, evening, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you guys in tomorrow's episode. Peace.